Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Making It in Austria. I'm your host, Adela Mehijanic, and today I have a very wonderful guest, shining bright and red and colorful, Elma Hot Dervic. Elma, good morning and warm welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Adela.
Thank you so much for coming and joining to the Making It in Austria interview. I wanted to interview for a very, very long time, but as we are quite busy on both ends, you more than I must admit, you travel a lot, you do quite a lot in your field, and I wanted to invite you to introduce yourself as long and or short as you wish to our wonderful audience.
Thank you. I think I was postponing this interview for years because I don't have a feeling that I made in Austria. Like I'm just like doing my PhD, studying, like surviving. So it was like too pretentious to like be a guest and say, "Oh, I made in Austria." That's why I was postponing. So my short interview, introduction, I'm Montenegrin. I was born and raised in a really small town, Bijelo Polje, in the northern part of Montenegro. During my high school, I was like debating what should I study. I was like debating between medicine and engineering. At the end, I have chosen like engineering, and I was one of the few girls at electrical engineering faculty. And after that, I realized that actually I like research a lot. I got opportunity to work at the University of Montenegro in Podgorica, and I just fall in love with the research. And many years later, I'm still doing research, but now in Vienna. Yeah.
What I'm just curious, what's one of the prejudices or jokes that you hear about people thinking, what's the research? It's like being piled with the books, not having social life, just talking to a computer, or like, am I exaggerating? Or there are some fun maybe jokes that you want to share.
Yeah, so coming from like Montenegro, like it's a country which was part of Yugoslavia, so we have this communist background. So basically, my parents were so proud when I was choosing between medicine and engineering because these are real jobs.
Yeah.
Then, like finishing engineering university, they're like, "Okay, you're ready now. Which big company you are choosing?" So when I started doing research, for them, it's like Elma is having a great time. Like she's doing some creative things, like with her colleagues, but I couldn't really understand. And later now, when I'm really doing research, that's my full-time job, they would still like introduce me as an engineer rather than a researcher because I think many of my friends and my family they don't really understand what research is. Like it's useful, they're doing some medical cool things, but I'm still engineer. So I think the biggest joke is that I'm not working. I'm just like doing some cool things and people pay me for that. So that's opinion of many of my friends, which is not like which is true in some ways because yes, I really do enjoy and probably I would do the same even though they don't pay me. So yeah. So it's like somewhere in between like adult life and real job and then being like creative and enjoying doing research, analyzing things. So in my case, it's not always just books. It's my laptop, some data on some servers, and books.
So what is your research about, Elma? I follow you on LinkedIn. I see you publish some of your latest research that you have done. You received a couple of awards, or one of the awards I've seen last week. So what is that you focus on your research?
So basically, when I started in Montenegro, I realized that I really like data science. At that time, we used to call it data mining.
Mm.
My master's was more in a computer science, so I was like, I could see that I'm going in the direction of data science. And at that time, I was part of BioICT, that was first center of excellence in Montenegro. And there we wanted to analyze data from different IoT devices, from sea, from agriculture fields. So it's really interesting. And during that phase, I learned like what is data science, what data science projects look like, and how actually this project can be really impactful if you analyzing data which was somewhere for years and no one analyzed it. Then after that, we had a startup project where we also had idea of collecting data. We had a hardware and software for bees, for monitoring bees. And my biggest wish was to collect enough amount of data and then analyze this data. Then with idea to like learn more about bees, to learn why they are in such danger, like what are we doing so wrong that bees are kind of disappearing. But then actually it didn't manage, like it didn't develop in a direction which I liked. It didn't develop in a direction of research and investing years and lots of effort and money towards like finding some smart solution. So I started like 5-6 years ago my PhD. And interestingly, I found a PhD where I could combine these two loves, like medicine and engineering. I realized quite early that I'm not the right person to be a medical doctor. Like I'm too responsible. Like I would freaking out, like if I have to like treat someone and have some like sick patient. But then analyzing data, like medical data, it's like perfect match for me. Like I am still doing engineering research part, but in a medical field. So I was really lucky to get a position in a Peter Slimme group at Medical University. My professor already had the data from all hospitals in Austria for 20 years. So I got a chance to like look at this data, analyze it, and then try to answer many questions. So I was doing my PhD for 4 years. And during these 4 years, I really work on many different projects. From smaller, simpler projects where we just check gender differences in some comorbidities. For example, we look how diabetes is correlated with depression. And what we learned looking at this data is that females are way more affected than males. So if you have diabetes and you're female, maybe it's already a moment to check with your doctors and start even some prevention regarding depression and many other diseases. For me, that was really strange, to be honest. I believe that we have way more knowledge than we do. I was surprised that we didn't know these gender differences. But yeah, it seems that like medicine and whole healthcare system is like tailor-made for males, and then we females, we have to fit into into that. So yeah, we learned many things using this amazing data set regarding gender differences. And then the biggest project I was working on, which was quite challenging, but it was really cool and exciting, and like small engineer in me was like super excited about this challenge. We wanted to develop a new method. So we wanted to develop a new method which is able to identify the most common paths of patient during these 20 years. So basically what we are doing, we are taking this 20 years of data from all hospitals in Austria. We are checking how patients aging, they are getting diseases while aging, and then we are identifying the most common paths. And then why is that important? Well, it's important because we didn't know these paths before. And then we can identify some paths where we can identify critical events. So for instance, we have one example in a publication where we see that young males, if they have sleep disorder in 20s or 30s, they are already starting path, which can be really serious. And then they can have many diseases. They can spend many days in hospital later in life. So basically our results can be a base for like smarter data-driven prevention strategies, which will then allow us to make one step forward to precision medicine and like more tailor-made treatments. And so it's really exciting. And it's like, our contribution is really small, but all research around the world are making small contributions with their projects. So then we are hoping that all together we can then contribute to the like expansion of our medical knowledge. Yeah.
You mentioned these differences in research when it comes to females and males, and I'm for the audience. So there's this book called Invisible Women, right?
Yes, perfect book.
Yes, that's a perfect book. I'm sure you know it. So it's a good book to start with, where showcases all the various examples anywhere where you can look at how research and what we is done mostly for male audience and not taking into consideration women. And
yeah, it's really shocking. Also, during my PhD, I learned that the gender medicine was like a pioneering work of one of my professors at medical university. So basically, until like 20 years ago, we didn't even look at this aspect. We just assumed that males and females are the same. We can treat them in the same way. So there are so many research questions which are not answered. Like if we want to look at the gender difference, there's so many things we have to learn and to adopt and change and improve in order to make it also like good for females.
Yeah, we are at the end 50% of population, so
exactly.
and growing. Elma, you touched a little bit about your move from Montenegro to Vienna. Tell us a little bit more. How was your, this coming to Vienna? So was it challenging? Have you experienced any kind of cultural shocks, or was it smooth? And what would be your advice for people who are considering to move to Vienna? What is that that came across your table?
So I think there is a high chance that, again, someone going to say that I'm promoting brain drain from Montenegro, but never mind. I'm just honest. So at some point of time, I realized that just once in a lifetime, I will be young. Like I will have 20, 25, and that's it. And if I don't use them wisely, I cannot return. So when I was 25, at that time, my boyfriend, now my husband, Alia, got a chance to do his PhD at Technical University in Vienna. And looking at him and his like journey, his PhD, I could see that he's super excited and happy, that he has really good conditions. He has amazing lab. He has like many colleagues from worldwide, like here in Vienna. And his integration didn't seem so tricky. So at some point I was like, start thinking, oh, maybe I can also do something similar. So I was not brave enough to start searching for my PhD, but I started searching for some scholarship for a short research visit. And then I applied for it. I found some nice professor at Technical University who wanted to be my host. So he gave me opportunity to come to his research group and spend there, I think, like one semester. And I remember at that time, I was finishing my master's studies and I was talking to my professor, who was really, really important person and probably one of the key persons because her support was so important. My professor, Vesna Popovic-Bulgarin from University of Montenegro. And I was talking with Vesna and I mentioned that I'm thinking about doing another master in Vienna. And she was like, why? I was like, yeah, well, I'm probably not ready for PhDs. I want to like repeat everything what I did, learn better. She was like, no, you're ready. You should start searching for a PhD. So sometimes you just need these kind of persons like to support you at the right moment and like believe in you when you do not believe enough. So she was like really supportive. And then during this 6 months period at Technical University, I was attending some courses of master studies. I think it was like data science, AI program. And I realized that many of these things I know, like, oh, many of these self-learning projects, yeah, they were useful. Also, my background is really good. So I started to become more brave and to believe more that I can make next step. So these 6 months and this scholarship was really important. So after that, I started searching for PhD. And moving, I didn't even have time to think about that. Like somehow for me, all of these plans were like short term or like for few years. Mm-hmm. And I remember my husband was planning to return to Montenegro right after his PhD. But then when I started thinking about my PhD, he said, yeah, we can just wait for end of your PhD and then we return. So the plan was that like instead of staying like for 3 years, we will stay for 5 years. as soon as I'm done with my PhD, we pack like all our packs and go back to Montenegro, because I was like quite happy in Montenegro while I was there. Like I was working at a nice place, I had nice colleagues, lots of friends, family. But then during my PhD, we learned that actually Vienna is so nice, so well organized. There is a public transport which works perfectly. Uh, City is clean, safe. Our income is enough to organize really nice lifestyle to travel. Then Vienna is really well connected. When I was a student in Montenegro, I was struggling a lot. Like if you want to travel from Podgorica at that time, you would travel to Istanbul and then from Istanbul to Germany, for example, which was really ridiculous. But then, like living in Vienna, you realize, oh, it's so much easier to travel. It's so much easier to whatever. So I think during my PhD, we realized that, yeah, it's probably better to stay longer. And what does that mean longer? I don't know. Ask me, I don't know, later, 10 years. And I think that during COVID time, we then start realizing, okay, we moved for longer. We don't see our friends so much as we used to see them. Then some of our friends got married, some got kids. And I think at that point of time, we realize, yes, we don't live on two places. Vienna is our home now. So I didn't have any struggles at that time because it was so intense, fast, startup projects, many trips. I think now I'm realizing that, yes, I live in Vienna and many of my friends are in Montenegro. I don't see them often. Their kids are growing so fast. Like I can't believe when I go back. But yeah, I think that's the price we have to pay if you want to like live in a bigger city, get more opportunities. You sacrifice part of your social life. You don't see your mom every day, but every few months. But I think it's totally fine. It's like manageable. And even though I find myself super emotional, I still believe that it's worth like sacrificing some parts of your social life if you get a chance to work at a really nice place and a really nice project. So yeah.
Yeah. Vienna is your home now, Elma, like
Yes.
for many of us. Yeah. And thank you for sharing how you came, you understand it consciously. So what has changed over the years. How do you meet new people, Elma? So this is for the Making It in Austria YouTube channel. This is for people who consider to move and also leave their friends and family behind, or and then they think, okay, how am I going to make new friends in Vienna, and how am I going to have a new social circle in Vienna? How do you do that?
I heard many stories that it's not easy to do that. But in my case, I cannot complain. In the beginning, I was part of some kind of startup bubble. So I already met some people there. Then I started my PhD. Then I met a few people who are in research. I remember right after my moving, I started searching for meetups. And that was really useful. Like there are many meetups in Vienna. I was searching for data science, R programming, R ladies, like community. So I joined some of these communities. I attended some meetups, and during these sessions, you meet many people. And of course, you just click with few or just one, which is totally fine. And what I learned in the last few years after getting married, I realized that like I'm more adult now. So in Montenegro, I had way more friends, but I realized that now I cannot maintain all of these friendships. Like it's totally fine to have smaller number of friends, not to see them every day. So I just got a Facebook memory a few days ago. It was like photos from my party when I finished bachelor studies, and I had like 50 people there. And yes, I'm in contact with these people in Montenegro, but nowadays I don't even want to have 50 people and some party with 50 people. If I have 5 friends, that's totally fine. So I think that came with like adult time. So I didn't have hard time finding enough friends for me in Vienna. Some of them I met during my Deutsch course. Some of them I met through research and through these meetups. But to be honest, many of these friends are from Balkan countries. So at my work, I speak English, and then somehow I miss my language. Like I miss like hanging out with friends and speak my own language. And usually when I read books, I read them in my language. So even though they're like translated, so I have to wait to go to Serbia or Montenegro to buy them, I wait for that in order to get them in my own language. So I don't have like I have some obviously Austrian friends and some international friends, but a few close friends are from Balkan countries. Yes.
Since you mentioned German classes right now, so how do you keep up with German, or how important is German for you in general in aspects of your work? Because that might be a question for people listening to this. Oh, I don't speak enough German, or I speak just a few words.
I was waiting for this question, and I have to be honest with you, the situation is desperate. Like it's really desperate. And I tried my best. I like started some courses like to finish at my B1, and then I was ambitious, like I wanted to learn it, to speak it, but I literally don't have any chance to practice. At work, I speak English. In supermarkets, when I try with my broken German to speak, people are like, ah, don't bother yourself. We will switch to Montenegrin, Serbia, and Bosnia, whatever. So there's so many people from Balkan countries that I don't have a chance like to practice it, which is a pity because yeah, part of integration is definitely a language. So it would be way better if I can speak better German, but I don't. And like there are so many situations where I literally practice, like I prepare myself, I'm going to police station to get some documents, and I'm like ready to speak German, few sentences like prepared in advance. They open my passport, they say, oh, možemo na našem. So they switch instantly to our like Serbo-Croatian or whatever Bosnian language. So like even these rare chances are kind of lost because there are so many Balkan people here in Vienna. So maybe I just need to move to a rural area in some village and then spend some time there and then be forced to speak German and yeah, learn proper German.
Thank you, Elma, for your honesty. Yeah, the environment plays an important role. The environment plays an important role. I mean, for me, it was like that. I when we came here, I did classes, German classes, and then when I started my first job here, my colleagues were very, very supportive, and they said, we will speak only German with you. You know, it said that it was only it was a Swedish company, but all of my colleagues were Austrians for generations. So they spoke German, and they had previously in a team, there was a colleague who came from Hungary, and then it was like trying in German, then switching to English, German, English, German, English, you know. And they said, we don't do that. And then when I spoke to her, it was mostly English, so she stopped speaking in German. And they told me, like, we're going to do it this time differently, and we speak with you just in German. We just speak in German, and you try as much as you can. And if you don't know the word, you know, try to explain it. And like when you're learning the language, you try to explain with hands, words that you know. So you don't know the specific word because there's a word for everything, and it might be like 3 meters long. But so they were really, really supportive. And I think that plays a significant role, like really the environment where you said that you can practice, that you can speak in German through and through, and nobody interrupts you, and nobody say, yeah, let's switch to English, right? Or let's switch it to you know, Montenegrin or whatever language. So they said, like, let's put it through. And my husband, when he started his first job, it was in English. So it was a very international community. He did B2 until B2 classes in German, so he was well prepared in grammar and vocabulary. However, it was in an international environment, and then he had a very slim opportunity to speak in German. And that did affect. So when he moved after 2.5 years, when he moved to a through and through Austrian environment, Austrian company, that changed significantly. That was like a major shift, you know. And for him, it was also, you know, when you learn the German in German classes, you learn general things like about life. But when you go into practice and you have to practice your, what you learn, your job in German, so it's a difference. So you have to pick it up. So no matter how many classes you did in German and how many bad or great you were, when you start a job, you have to pick it up in, build up your vocabulary, because it's you have to learn the words, basically the hundreds and hundreds of words that come into daily. So that's requires really the environment. That's so important.
I think that I'm reaching that point where there is no point of going to any Deutsch course anymore. I need to start speaking. Like my colleagues, yes, they also like suggest sometimes, oh, we can speak German. I was like, no, I'm like too afraid. I have some mental barrier, I think. So I think at some point I would just have to relax and start trying.
Yeah, I think that's it. So the environment and people are more or less supportive. I'm just now speaking general for the people who are listening this and considering. So you will find people who will, say, oh, you should know better German because you live 5 years here. So you will find these people. So that's possible. That's life, But you will also find people that will, speak slowly, that will take time, that will not interrupt you, and so on and so forth. And they are the majority. They are the people that in your environment that will stop and listen to you and take the time and not correct. I mean, correct you in a nice way, because if you say I want to learn, please correct me if this is this way or that way. So
I have a few friends who started like Ausbildung Karenz, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. They just stopped their career for like 6 months in order to learn German. And I found it really like useful and a quite good strategy. And I was thinking about it, but in my case, because I'm doing research and I'm extremely excited about all topics I'm working on, like I'm like, okay, I will wrap up these projects and then I will start thinking about stopping for 6 months and then just learning the language. But then new topic kick in. I'm like, oh my God, this is also super exciting. I cannot do it now. This is more important. So I think if you're doing research, it's so hard because we are usually so crazy about our projects, our topics, so into it. We are kind of living that what we are doing. So it's hard for us to like stop for 6 months and then just focus on a new language. And I think that's kind of the only way to really to learn it, because if you do it part-time after your work during weekends, you don't see progress, so then you lose motivation. So yeah, it's hard to balance.
Yeah. I think it's as you say, it takes its time, it takes the environment, and it takes the practice. So, and then of course there are people who are talented. I had interviewed Mohamed Meshic long time ago. Some of you will find the interview over there. He speaks over 76 languages. So, there are these people that speak language and they learn by listening.
Oh, but you need a special type of brain for that.
That's a
I'm
special.
quite sure I don't have.
For the ordinary people, like ourselves here. So it's environment, practice, read again, go back and forth. And then you feel like, okay, they say this funny thing, like when you start dreaming in a language, so then you know the language. Like that's fun.
Yeah, but I think that I have additional burden that I'm engineer. So I like my brain is more custom made for numbers than for words. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Elma. So everybody finds their own way. I think that's what makes us unique. There's no solution that fits everyone. So we try our best and continue every single day. So keep it up. Elma, that's all the time we have for today. I'm sure we would be able to open many topics, as I hear you are, there's a lot of joy in research. That you do, and all the projects that you do that are quite very important for the community and people around you. So thank you so much for your great work. I wish you all the best continuing, and many awards and many great things and projects that you're going to do.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story, and good luck with your project, and all the best to the listeners and our audience.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Let's spread the words and, stories that words our time. And so I'll keep bringing more great stories in the coming weeks. Stay tuned. Thanks, everyone.